Vita. White sister. Ta Vita. I'm a trouble.
The subject that we wanted to deal with and that we are dealing with is an article by Professor Jansen where he talks about the Buddha, the fury of the young white people, particularly Afrikaners, and the volcano that could erupt if we do not attend to it. For those viewers who've not read the article, I'd just like to read a little bit of what Jonathan Jansen says. I listen carefully to the voices of white and black parents, students and communities up and down South Africa, and I am troubled. Events such as Rates or Ventersdorp or Waterkloof or Skierlik are not examples of spontaneous combustion. They represent underlying lava currents of racial discontent. Dismissing these horrific events as racism does not advance understanding, let alone solutions. That constantly threaten our young democracy and which will from time to time burst through the social surface like an erupting volcano with huge damage to our quest for non-racial society. Becky, maybe I've stayed close to you since 2005 because of what you said to me in 2005 when you warned me that the black issues that I saw were a problem. But you said to me, Cedric, let me tell you your problems, and our problems are going to come out of the white youth. Tell us a little bit more about it, Becky.
In our system today, when we talk about democracy, I remember when we grew up, all the white people, all the white children, they had jobs. They didn't have no problem because their fathers were running things, business. So they were able, if you were a lawyer, your child was going to become a lawyer. If you were a doctor, likewise. So there were jobs in place for white people created by the stability of the white government at that time.
Yeah, and what you're telling me is that the whites did nothing to counter that vacuum that was being created by due democracy. And then today, Professor Jansen says they are hurting because of mixed messages. And he quotes these mixed messages such as the struggle was or is about black people in general and Afrikaans in particular. Only blacks need apply. And despite your academic results, we reserve places at a medical school on the sliding scale from white to Indian to colored to African. Messages such as, only an African can become a president of the country. It's a matter of time before your farms will be taken from you and given to dispossessed. And we will punish you if you do not get employment equity commitments right soon. Now these are secondary messages that appear, according to Professor Jansen, to hurt the white community. Where do these messages come from and how does it relate to the black community, Dick?
Number one, the joblessness. You know, in the system of the past, remember that every place there was a job. You know, we used to come from one company to another company. We were always be able, although we are earning nothing, peanuts, but we could survive. Are you with me?
So even as a black you had a job. The whites had preferred jobs, restricted jobs, but even as a black you had a job.
Oh yeah, we did have a job to buy bread. Not a job to sustain us, but we were able to leave for a day to another. So now when the new system, because first we were told the children must go to school because we were deprived education. Then we were told if you are educated, you'll be getting some jobs. Today we are having some young people graduate, walking down the street, boozing because they cannot find no job. Because everybody wants to depend on the Constitution to protect us.
So whites are relying on the Constitution, blacks are relying on the Constitution, And these mixed messages that are hurting the South Africans, and they range from various politicians that we won't even name. But from what I see, these messages are not just a cowboy politician making a statement, and that's why senior government officials do not repudiate it. It's actually coming off that ground level in the black cage.
Yes, the black cage is in trouble. Now I've been knowing for 5 years, or before 5 years, that the white cage will be having a problem. But the black cage was already having a problem.
It's always had the problem.
Yes.
So these are not mixed messages. These are messages from one group of people to the other group of people, and messages that we need to seriously take into our lives.
Consideration.
And any other questions?
I just have one question. Do you think if a white person can be a president in South Africa, will there be a change?
Because what you say is important, okay? Right?
Yeah, I think what you just said about South Africa becoming another Zimbabwe is true. I mean, starting with the government saying that we now equal, and we have equal rights and so on. I don't believe that. For starters, I see history repeating itself, but vice versa. Now it's the blacks against the whites. Because now we have power. Now we oppressing all the whites. So I don't see. I mean, equality there. We're fighting against another.
So we're not equal, you say?
We're not equal. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think we as black people, as we see white people, we always think of hatred and disrespect and everything. Because I think us as black people think that something was taken from us as we fought for everything, I think. So I think when I see a white person, I see hatred, that I get aggressive and all that shit. So I can't stand a white guy standing in front of me, because that's how I feel about white people. That's how I feel about it.
Is that why you first asked me just how I feel about standing here?
Yeah.
Okay, you realize I'm relaxed.
Yes.
And mainly because I understand that. How old are you?
I'm 22.
But you were almost born into the new democracy.
Yes. But then I never got all the things that I wanted. I feel like in the schools they never taught what I want to them to teach me. So I feel like everything is just messed up.
We see these young whites aggressively about to explode, still sitting in the white cage. I see just as big a problem in the black cage, where I always talk about the fact that black people are trapped in this black cage, mainly, and I compare it to a lion, that if we put a lion in a cage and we fed him for a couple of years, it's not just the food we give him, but it's the mindset that we've got to give him to keep him comfortable in that cage. Otherwise, he would better eat you when you came to feed him if you didn't fix his mind. And I see that as what we did in the rural areas, the villages and the townships over the period. And then what we did in 1994 is we opened the doors, the gates to the cage, and said to the black people that you are now free to enjoy the land of milk and honey. But just like that lion, if you open that cage, the buck can walk past, but he's not going to hunt for himself. He'll wait until something comes. Now, if that is what we see in the township, if I am just 10% right, we need to try and assist. But then, what do we do with that white mindset who is sitting on the other side with all that fury?
That's what we're supposed to be working on. I believe with your help and the others, like Professor Jansen, we can be able to have an input, and we can be able to try to ease the wrong mentality which was placed on a white cage and a black cage. Because I just saw it. It's a shame, you know. One of our guys who are very big on sports, I just saw it on the newspaper, calling the people who are watching the game monkeys. It's the same old mentality. Well, we try to play around. It's not really a racist statement. I mean, he is our man. We may try to protect him, but it's still the same mentality from the white cage. So why you always talk of the lion, which it makes a lot of sense that you have a strength because we respect the strength of a lion. Why not a monkey? I mean, because a young man just passed and say people are monkeys who are not of his race. Why not monkeys? I remember what's called a monkey. Have you ever called any black man a monkey?
If a South African male lived through 63 years in this country, I think I would be foolish to even try and deny having called a black man a monkey at some stage in my life.
So what was monkey about us? Because I used to say white people eating a banana, when a black man eats a banana, he's a monkey. What was this? Can you explain to me?
A lot of people will tend to think that you would have been called a monkey because you look like a monkey.
Oh.
But it's far deeper than that. I'm pretty sure that very few white people who would acknowledge and admit to having called a black person a monkey, don't forget 90% of them are going to deny it, but for those 10% who are brave enough to acknowledge it, I believe that the monkey symbolizes a person with a smaller brain, a lesser brain with lesser ability, that you could train, just like the monkey on a string, to do all sorts of tricks. You could train him to do certain things, but that's as much as what that monkey could do. And that, I think, is more likely what the term monkey used by a white person relates to.
I just realized after we just talked now that if he is the person who cannot think for himself, I'm so surprised that South Africans, they do not think for themselves, they cannot produce no jobs, they are crying like little babies now. Then who was the mind behind? They just like the monkeys, as the monkeys they saw in us, who need to be trained to do anything?
I must be very careful. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your question, how I answer it. I would say that a certain group of people in the white society who considered black people to be monkeys pre-1994 probably haven't changed that thinking at all. And even though the country has been run by black people, I think we will have a certain section of our population who believe that we are a banana republic.
I think as me as an individual into blacks, I have an animosity to blacks also, but then in a different way, not in a way I have into white people. That's why.